Again, Shehu Sani advises governments to fix economy, avoid protests. On petroleum, FG still pays 1 trillion naira monthly for petroleum subsidy. And then on governance, UNODC says corruption prevalent in Nigeria's judiciary. Do not go away. When I come back, we'll look at Anchor's chat and delve right into the show.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. Amazing.
Honourable
you human
on the point of order.
Honourable they are not picking our calls.
So no agreement with the EU, but
from the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Back. I have with me in the studio Mr. Okechukwu Edemko. Mr. Okechukwu Edemko is a socio-political analyst. Good morning, Mr. Okechukwu.
Yeah, good morning, Larissa. Good morning, all our esteemed viewers.
And I also have with me Chuba Opozo, a socio-political analyst. Good morning, Mr. Chuba.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. On to the stories. Hoodlums have attacked a BUA truck loaded with cartons of spaghetti at the Dogarawa axis of Zaria-Kano Expressway. The incident, which occurred around 3:15 p.m., saw the culprits making off with the entire cargo of spaghetti. According to an eyewitness, the driver had parked the truck by the roadside to observe prayers when the hoodlums struck, looting all the cartons of spaghetti before fleeing the scene. This incident comes on the heels of another attack just a week ago, where the hoodlums hijacked trailers loaded with foodstuff in the Suleja area of Niger State, stealing bags of rice and other items in the midst of widespread hardship in the country. According to eyewitnesses, a team deployed to the scene managed to apprehend 5 suspects in connection with the crime. The eyewitness described the incident as unfortunate and regrettable, stating that such an act had never occurred around the area since he had been trading there for more than 10 years. Now, Mr. Okechukwu, it appears that stealing and hijacking of food items from trucks have become, it has become rife in the country right now. And it seems to be on the increase. Every week, every few days, every other day, you hear news of trucks being hijacked and foodstuff stolen from the trucks. So what do you have to say about that?
It's quite unfortunate and very appalling that things have degenerated to this lowest ebb in the country. I'm not in support of people stealing. God in heaven knows that. Even the Bible says curse is in the house of a thief. But now these are people who are very hungry. And in the midst of obvious hardship, you see people displaying obscene wealth. A hungry man is an angry man. And once it gets to this level, it's a very dangerous sign. It's not a good thing. It's something that is very condemnable. It in every strata. But again, the other question, what is the government doing to put this hardship in a stop? And if you look at it, I don't encourage stealing in any form, but this one is pure banditry. And in the case of obvious, in front of the owner, you are intimidated, and these are hungry people. Nigeria shouldn't get to this point. It should be condemned, but the government also has a role to play, so that there should be some palliative measures so that this kind of things will not happen. The economy needs to be worked on.
Well, Mr. Chuba, there are concerns around the hunger giving way to rise in crime and criminality. Now, the security operatives are saddled with a lot of responsibilities right now, given what is going on. However, even the security operatives, in your opinion, do you think that they are going to do a good job in fighting these issues? Not forgetting that the police, for example, their salaries are nothing to write home about, especially in face of the current hardship. They are Nigerians as well. Do you think there is a possibility of fighting this level of petty crime to a standstill?
See, you cannot take away these pockets of crimes and criminalities from a society as bedeviled as ours economically. The truth cannot be overemphasized. What is important is the fact that the Nigerian state is what it is today ask yourself, how much is a 12 kg gas cylinder costing? Ask yourself, how much is a bag of rice costing? And in the midst of this, the food basket of the nation is being run amok, and bandits for years, and the government that we've gotten have done little or nothing about all of that. In the midst of all of this, we're still hearing humongous amounts of monies being recovered from the hand of individuals in this same country. And one will begin to ask, where did they go steal these monies from? That is, our collective patrimony is within the hands of a selected few. Now, outside the hunger in the land, there is a raging level of anger associated with this hunger. And like you observe, it is not really as if the driver was being oppressed. The people were only expressing a level of anger. That is their only little way of letting the government understand, because they know that this will become news. They know that the company would cry out. My only worry is the 5 persons that were apprehended in the scene, because most often those 5 persons possibly might not even be involved in one way or the other, or they were the last comers. But be that as it may, it is important and imperative to note that this is a singular issue or an incident that clearly encapsulates the state of the Nigerian economy today, and government must look inwards to ask themselves these very all-important questions. What is going on? We do not have a regulation anywhere, and if at this point in time, foodstuffs are becoming soft targets. The other day it was Suleja, now it is Niger. The next time we'll be talking about, again, maybe it might be in Port Harcourt or in somewhere in the south. You must understand that when this becomes a recurring decimal, it becomes a pattern. Do not forget, in Nigeria, when that starts happening, it almost does not ever end anymore. And unless government leaves it in the bud and does something, I mean, strategically worthwhile, where there is a quick fall in the cost of commodities. Because whether you like it or yes, nobody can beat his hands on the chest to say, I can provide a befitting meal with 3,000 naira for for a family of 3 right now. So when we have gotten to this point, these are the very clear indications that the economy is in comatose. The government is either completely facing the reverse gear or has completely lost bearing and ideas and has got to do something tangibly miraculous or a magic wand to ensure that we have a food basket. If they have a Joseph, they should look for him now, because this is the time we need a miracle, because so far so good, the political class and the leadership, this administration, from what we are seeing so far so good, is completely losing it. And I think it's something we need to do and talk about, condemn in all terms. Criminality, stealing is bad, but whether we like it or yes, the root cause is obviously staring us in the face, and something has to be done about it.
Well, Mr. Okechukwu, apparently Mr. Chuba is proffering a God solution to Nigerian situation. Do you think that a God solution is the way to go?
I think it's a combination of the God factor and the human factor. First, this whole thing, they need to sit down, ask themselves certain salient questions that they have to answer by themselves. Look at how they can cut down on expenditure, because if you look at it very well, they spend so much on recurrent and little or nothing is left for capital project. Then the economy also, certain decisions were taken in the past that put the economy on the reverse gear. You and I know that first and foremost, the Nigerian economy is power driven. And if the economy is power driven, do we have adequate power supply for these industries? What's the cost of petroleum products? And these are things that have a multiplier effect or a rippling effect on the economy. And the result is obvious hardship, high cost of goods and services, and people can no longer afford the basic things. And when you see that, it becomes something, for me, it's appalling. It's something we shouldn't even wish ourselves, because this is one thing that once it starts, before you know, it spreads. It spreads like a wildfire. And once it becomes a norm, my brother, even the so-called rich, they will become the targets of these very volatile and hostile people. But I pray that it doesn't get to this point. It behooves on the government to come back, sit down, take certain decisions. If it's to cut down costs, they cut down costs. But Nigeria shouldn't be. If it gets to this point where no one will try as much as holding people, you discover that insurgency and insurrection will take place.
Okay. On to the next story. 8 lawmakers of the Labour Party in the Anambra State House of Assembly have forfeited 6 months of their salaries as contribution to ameliorating the economic hardship on citizens. The lawmakers said they took the decision at an emergency meeting of the party, which held on Thursday. They called on President Bola Tinubu to suspend work on other sectors and declare a state of emergency on security and hunger. We, the Labour Party House of Assembly members, wish to lend our voice to the cry of our leader, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, on the sorry state of the nation after our emergency caucus meeting, the statement reads. We urge His Presidency, President Ahmed Tinubu, to stop work on other sectors on the economy, including infrastructure, for the next 6 months and declare a state of emergency on security and hunger in the nation. Similarly, we urge all other governors of the 36 states, including Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State, to suspend all infrastructural development in the next 6 months and also declare a state of emergency on security and hunger. For this reason, we, the Labour Party House, have resolved to relinquish our basic salary for 6 months as part of our contribution to alleviate the sufferings of the masses. We must commend our leader, Mr. Peter Obi, for his selfless efforts to ensure the stability and growth of our nation. Now, let me start with you, Mr. Chuba. Do you think this is an applaudable move by these LP lawmakers in Anambra State?
I want to say, on the surface level, it is very, very applaudable. It is a very good gesture because I am one person who has advocated for the fact that government personnel should be able to give back in the sense that the humongous salaries, the humongous remunerations attached to the office should be cut down at a time as such because we are in a very, very economically crunching period of our existence. But be that as it may, I think it is not enough to just say you're cutting down your salaries. What is most important now is to say this is where we are channeling the salaries too. Safety and hunger. These lawmakers are coming from a constituency. What I expect of them is not for them to leave the money in their government coffers or in the state government's account. The money should be pulled out. Possibly there should be a pattern to which this money should be spent directly to the constituents, so that these people will understand that we are feeding you so that you will not see a truck parked by the side of your expressway in Anambra State and you go mob it, you go steal from there, so that you should understand that we equally are having intentions to look for more lasting solutions. But be that as it may, on this trajectory, firstly, this is our plan, or this is what we can do in our level and our capacities to see how we can be of help to you. If that is done, I think it is more directional. It is going to be more purposeful and would yield more result. But just to say you're reducing salaries and possibly it's going to be in the government's account to equally do with what it so places just for the fun of it, I don't think it's best. More so on this matter, it is very, very imperative to state and note that however the kind of brandishing anybody want to brandish the Labour Party and possibly the presidential flag bearer of that party, I think the Labour Party over the time is beginning to show itself more endearing to the Nigerian people in different facets. Both the PDP and the APC, which are largest, have members in almost all states and in the federal, at the federal level. But nothing of sort had ever come out from them, and they are not looking anything close to the direction of the people. Both in the Senate and in the House of Reps, we have seen that, so whether we like it or yes, I think that the toga that the LP flag bearer is putting on himself in trying to represent the Nigerian people for what a leader should be at the time as such is one that should be applauded even by enemies of his, because that is the only way the country can thrive. That's the only way the country can move forward. A sincere approach to matters. This brings us to the fact that when you talk about hunger in this magnitude and in this level, we have a president who just a week ago was putting an economic team together and was putting in that same team persons that we consider enemies of this country for their business interest. I make both to make this statement on air very clearly. The likes of Tony Dangote, they should not be making a Nigerian economic team at this point in time, because whether we like it or not, in the banking sector, Nigeria is the only place in the world that I know of where people money is collected for electronic transfers, where money is collected for what's it called, ATM cards. Whereas in other places, people are pleaded with to come and save monies. Money accrued to some level of what's it called, of interest. When you come to the oil and gas sector, we have seen a Dangote who has come out to say he's going to be having the second largest refinery in the world. We know when this refinery was supposed to have started running. All the information given to us, I don't think they're flying. Look at the cement industry. The Dangote has monopolized by the virtue of successive governments and even this government empowerment and all. This is where they have dragged the Nigerian economy to. Are these people going to come out and start to fix the Nigerian economy at the expense of their own businesses? I think my answer is a simple no. So I think we have to have a government that is proactive, a government that is reasonable, like the other people are taking the steps in their own little ways. All of that lawmakers in other political parties and in other states should equally look inwards and try to work out more better and more robust procedures to see that they can alleviate the suffering of the Nigerian populace.
Okay. Mr. Okechukwu, do you think it's enough to relinquish salaries or to actually embark in projects with these salaries that will actually get to the people that really need these salaries, like buying foodstuff and giving out to persons, or even using part of these salaries, you know, to give out grants to people who genuinely need it at this point in time?
For me, I think it's the right step in the right direction.
Okay.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a footstep, and they've taken that first step of relinquishing salaries for 6 months. It's commendable. It's something that other people should also do. And I've always advocated that politics should be a part-time thing, not a full-time vocation. It should be something that you do besides your source of a living. By that way, whatever comes your way, you see that it's service to humanity and service to the people, and not a call for wealth and personal aggrandizement. By so doing, you discover that people will use whatever they've gotten to serve the people. Relinquishing their salary in the face of obvious hunger, it's a welcome development. I also beg them and appeal to them too that their constituency projects, half of it too, should be relinquished so that it will go the same way of the salaries. There is nobody in Nigeria now that would not see that there is hunger in the land. So if these funds are gathered together, the next question is, what are they doing with it? Who are the direct recipients? How did they disburse it so that it doesn't get to the hands of the leaders at the local level, and before you know, they keep it to themselves? During the last COVID, I know a lot of palliatives that were sent. Even this other last one, some leaders at the local level, they collected and it didn't get down to the people. So these are things that they should monitor, know that it gets to the final user, the end user, the end recipient. That way it will hit target. That way it will become something that the aim of the forfeiture will be achieved and not defeated.
Isn't this the right time for constituency projects to be felt? You know, the allocations for Mr. Chuba, isn't it the right time?
You see, when can you really define as right time? The truth is, the reality stares us all in the face. Hunger is prevalent. We cannot pretend about it. And like I'll join Mr. Okechukwu to stress that it is important and imperative that everybody understands that it is not enough to say you're relinquishing salaries. It's not enough to say, because we know the salaries and the ESTA codes put together. Just imagine what we're talking about. The salaries of one man or two men is what we are looking at supporting a constituency. And what exactly is their job? Lawmaking. So at the end of the day, you now ask yourself, the most lucrative business in Africa today, it's politics. And we are not reneging anytime soon. So it's important that these people understand that you come from a constituency. That is my own take. It's my own suggestion. It's my personal opinion. You come from a constituency. You know how many communities make up your constituency. I think you can now know, you say in the next 6 months, you can now marshal out in the next 6 months this XYZ. You're able to face your constituency. Listen, many people are just talking about, many people are in offices, both in state and federal assemblies, that cannot even go to their own personal villages. Let us be factual. Some people are stuck there in Abuja, they don't come back, but they are representing the people. The same way as people are stuck here in Port Harcourt and in other state capitals, they can't go home. But if we have makers that are completely in sync with the people, these are not supposed to be rocket science. We have 12 villages in respect to my palliative I want to offer. Out of the 12 villages, we look at them based on population strength or whatever mechanism you want to use. So, okay, the first month money goes for the first 2 villages, or the second goes to the second, and that is it. You spread across board and you cover them, knowing fully well that there is a structured, like Mr. Kechiku said, it's not enough to just give the party warlords or party stakeholders. At the end of the day, most of the party stakeholders, whether we like it or yes, they are funny persons with funny characters. Like we have seen the COVID-19 palliative that was even used as what's it called? COVID-19 palliative that was used as birthday gifts and souvenirs in people's occasions. And today, nobody questioned those persons. Nobody was put behind bars. Those palliatives went. We saw where state houses were broken into. People went to carry food and stuff. Till today, those investigations did not see the light of day. So what we are talking about is we have seen over again. And if anybody has any similitude of doing it right, I think getting it right means to say you have to go to the people. If you really believe that you are part of the people, it's not enough to just come on paper and make a blanket statement. But I believe that this is the right step in the right direction, and if it must go down well to memory lane, these people must have to work out a different formation, because the party wards, chairman, party, all of that, they are just names, and many of them have been funny in character and distribution of these things. So I think a better process should be applied in this in time, so I can get directly to the people. I think that's the best way to follow.
Okay, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll look at the accusation that has been leveled against the president by the APC vice chairman. Don't go away.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human
on the point of order.
Honorable
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
StarTimes across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back. Salihu Lukman, the immediate past national vice chairman of the ruling All Progressive Congress in the Northwest, has accused President Bola Tinubu of operating an exclusionary administration and acting more like a military dictator. He stated that for a man seeking a second term in office, it was unimaginable that the president would conduct national matters without consulting Nigerians. In a statement made on Saturday in Abuja, Lukman stated that while the president has accepted responsibility for the country's economic position, the critical issue is, having accepted responsibility, how long will it take to get to the end of the tunnel when the expected light begins to shine? According to him, the key concerns of Nigerians, particularly APC members, is not only whether citizens can survive the current crisis, but also understanding the intricacies of government plans to help Nigerians get out of it. Mr. Chuba, this is the opinion of former vice chairman of the APC ruling party. Is this the opinion of a disgruntled member of the party? Or, in your opinion, do you think this is a valid concern?
As pitiable as it may sound, this is the reality of the Nigerian state. Everybody that speaks up to government because or you criticize government at one point or the other, it is considered that you are either disgruntled, you are hungry, or you've not been carried along. But be that as it may, you ask yourself, like, what that we can say it's of importance to the Nigerian state? The answer is a clear no. What was the people's far cry about the 160 million naira used to buy SUVs for lawmakers? It was clear. Sarah Perut, the people spoke from every part of their bodies. They cried out, but the president vehemently refused. So you ask yourself, once again, we are looking at the president picking up the Oransaye panel resolution as a path to follow. That's to say, in 3 months, he has given an ultimatum. In 3 months, some ministries will be merged, some will completely be abolished, and those are the decisions the president has taken. Who did the president see to make those decisions? He just sits down and makes decisions arbitrarily, and forgetting that, like he went on to say, most of the decisions that this administration are taking, and equally reference the previous administration, and I may go to say the APC administration for all it is. Someone will say, why is Chuba picky about the APC administration? I'm always very clear and straight. I said to people, national partisan politics ended with the APC advent. When President Muhammadu Buhari came into power, that's the first time that the the Federal Character Commission took the city president to court, because over 90% of his kitchen cabinet appointments were from a particular zone and a particular place, and people felt this was completely alien to the spirit of the Constitution. But whether we like it or not, we had funny people, funny political commentators who will come out of all the politically correct at all time to justify as if that the previous administration had been excellent, but we have had a form of a unitary kind of system where all the zones of the country will be guided along. People have the voice. At least at some point in time of this country, if something happened in the southeast, there are one or two stakeholders that could make a statement, whether right or wrong, that should be observed as a stakeholder has made a statement from here. But as it is today, some persons sit wherever they are, make a statement for people's families, not just a zone, make a statement for people's kitchens, making it obvious that the party as what's it called, the pattern of leadership has automatically become seemingly looking like a dictatorship kind of leadership. Whether we like it or yes, Lukman has made his point and stands very clear. And I make both to join my voice with Lukman to say the president must at least loosen up a little, have some flexibility in his decision-making process, make the system more robust. Party organs are meant to guide you, to let you know what the people are saying. I've never, and I, by the grace of God, I hope and pray that I will not be like a former governor who said I will now become. I've never been a party person per se, and was still an APC apologetic for any reason. The truth is, it has failed in many fronts. Up until today, like I keep saying, if a child is born and he doesn't have an eye, it's called, a disabled child. Up until today, I'm able to say that they don't have a board of trustees. And that is a political party running the affairs of the country for how many years? What does it take to form a Congress and make those things happen? All we're talking about stakeholders. Listen, it is imperative for Nigerians to understand that the state we find ourselves. Lukman made so very many damning information that I think everyone should go listen to, read up that document, and make your own submissions. Lukman talked about issues that are very, very germane. You cannot just sit down now and say you have removed subsidy by a stroke of word, and it happened. And now you're sitting down, you're making decisions, making appointments. A lot of things are happening. The people are completely cut off from it. Look at it, considering the FX. Lukman talked about it. Where we are today, these are pronouncements that didn't go down well with marketers and professionals who took advantage of the loopholes. In the midst of all of this, the people that the person that will consider the problems of this country, the presidency in all grandstanding, just brings them back to the table and calls them up as economic team, and I think they're going to still be funded more than Nigerian money. So that would like it or yes, I think Lukman's statement is not about someone that's been cut out of the system, someone that is just wanting to cry. Lukman's statement is one that the president should look into and act upon. All right.
Mr. Okechukwu, in his statements, part of the press release, he also talked about floating the naira and the consequences it had on the Nigerian economy. I want to get your perspective on that. And then he also came down to political party structure. Now, he also accused the president of nullifying zoning in APC politics at the national level, where he accused the president of moving the national chairman from North Central to North. So apparently, it's the turn of North Central. And there are issues around Ganduje still being the APC national chairman, as the case may be. And apparently, Lukman is accusing the president of being handy in all this crisis. What do you have to say about that?
First, let me start talking about the politics that Tinubu is playing, politics of exclusivity and not inclusivity. Party, like I tell people, is like a vehicle. Election is the motor park, while passengers are the electorate, and governance is destination. Once you get to destination, you leave politics and you start pure governance. And first, what becomes of your paramount interest is the betterment and the welfare of the people, and not about the stakeholders and party members. Once you get to destination, which is governance, and you start playing politics in the midst of governance, you are bound to make certain mistakes. Tinubu taking some unilateral decision, which has had a very bad effect on the Nigerian economy. To the two of them, the removal of subsidy on the day of your inaugural speech. Nobody does that. Knowing very well that Nigerian economy is power-driven, and the power sector in Nigeria has failed. So we now look for alternative source of power. We've not even taken advantage of the renewable energy, which is the solar, because of the high cost of getting this equipment. Everybody still goes back to fuel. And increasing the price, for crying out loud, it will definitely have a negative effect on the economy, in the sense that even the barber, the tailor, The household, even the madam at home, needs power to preserve most of the things he has prepared for the weekend and for the week ahead. So it puts pressure on it. Then talking about the FX, putting the naira on the floating surface, you look at it, is another very, I won't say it's a very bad mistake that they made, in the sense that our economy is still a purchasing economy, it's not a productive economy. We depend on forex for import for virtually everything in Nigeria. So at that point, making that kind of this, you're putting a lot of pressure on the naira, and these are the results. And that's why we've had this kind of inflation in Nigeria today that we've never experienced any day, any time. Look at prices of goods and services. They keep increasing per second, in the sense that the current exchange rate for dollar to naira in the morning, at times in the evening, it has changed. There's no longer cap, no longer regulation. And by the time you buy, when you want to sell, dollar has gone up, you will increase price, knowing very well that if you want to go to the market again, you won't be able to meet up. So these are decisions that the president took that has had a very negative effect on the economy today. Then talking about the kind of government he's running, yes, his style of governance is something that is very, very alien to Nigeria. You need to put the people in. Okay, look at the last trip he says, the trip he says he wants to go for in Qatar, putting two members, two of his sons and his relative on that trip of 38 people. Are there no other Nigerians? Look at the economic team that he has put together. The same people who are part of Nigeria's problem, they are the same people that they are putting on economic team. For crying out loud, most of these so-called big businessmen, we know that they are cronies of politicians. A lot of government, a lot of funds belonging to politicians are in the hands of these businessmen. And you don't put them back as part of the economic team. Any person who is part of a problem can never fix a problem, because all he needs to do is first to block loopholes so that they wouldn't know that he or she is part of the problem. You need a neutral person to solve a problem, and I stand to be corrected.
Okay. Now, do you think that the president is... Lukman accused him of reactionary leadership, Mr. Chuba. Do you think that the president, first of all, takes decision, or do you think he takes decisions without actually thinking it through, especially with regards to the consequences it will have on the masses? Or do you think the president is completely removed from the pain the people are passing through?
It's not about what we think. I think both two analysts here, Mr. has equally observed and equally supported Lukman's views. Nobody comes on an inaugural speech to say you are removing subsidy. Listen, subsidy in quotes. Let me take my 30 seconds to explain this. A lot of professionals believe subsidy is a scam in all its form, because subsidy in the first place shouldn't exist at all, because of what they call the cost of landing and what. Because the people that have come to buy these products are the people that are still going to go and refine it and bring it back to this country. So where does the subsidy now come in? It's not the same length of the sea or whatever they're going to traverse. Let's let that lie. Let's just believe that there's subsidy. Even before we start believing, I've said this and I'll say it again. If a former head of state, a former chairman of PDTF, a former minister of petroleum, who comes out on public television and tells the world that subsidy is a scam, there's nothing like subsidy, I don't think that I will be out of place to hold this view as well, that there is no subsidy. Now, whether there is or there is not, we have known that this subsidy power plays somewhere has its intricacies in respect to strong, powerful Nigerians. Hence, the president's speech, before he made the speech and said subsidy will be removed, will not be paid by his administration, we saw it trickle down the next hour, that all stations were shut down, and before you knew, the new price of fuel came out. There was nobody that prosecuted anybody to say you had this old stock in market, so in your reservoir, make it available. Do not forget, the very first time somebody came out to say, genuinely, we knew that the coordinating minister's mother was kidnapped. If the subsidy is really a right that can be canvassed and justified by those who are receiving the subsidy payment, if you go down to Lukman's write-up or statement, he clearly went ahead to tell you that it is because of this subsidy that we are talking about that we say we have a president say is removed. that is leading to the fact that the cost of petroleum products around African countries is subsidized one way or the other. Because at the end of the day, when this humongous amount of product is brought to Nigeria, we'll still be looking for it. Then it goes out of the same country. Some of them were not even brought into this country in the first place. Because when Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was stressing that they have looked at the books, these things don't correlate. Then we have to remove it. This same president and his predecessor all stood, had some paid Nigerians. I use the word paid Nigerians because Nigeria never got anywhere close to this state before we saw ministers of God, clerics, sheikhs, and people that they call themselves activists begin to run among the streets of Nigeria when there was a clear-cut program why the subsidy was going to be removed in 2012. Today, like you asked, are we thinking? It's not a talk thing, it's a reality. This is what we have seen. The president had made his speech, the statement, and had come back to tell us he did not intend it this way. But this is the result. Obviously, he didn't think it through. He just wanted to be grandstanding. Like the former president came, he said, I'm for nobody, I'm for everybody. When we now realize the speech was not even his. Everybody wants to come and hit the ground running. And how do you hit the ground running? By some careless, unguarded statements on program, on plan. And this is the result of those kind of careless, unarranged programs. So it is pertinent and painful that we cannot come and say we are thinking what the president is doing. This is what the president has done. This is the result we are seeing. And it is pertinent for us to notice that going forward, the handlers of Mr. President should be able to let Mr. President understand statements and decisions are made. They should be sincerely thought through. With all due respect, somebody says, you cannot say he didn't think before he spoke. Fine and good. These are the result of what he has said before. Let us think even deeper. And let's leave the shabby waters of how we've been thinking.
All right. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has summoned the chief executives of Abuja and Ibadan electricity distribution companies following the worsening power supply in their regions. He also summoned the managing director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Sule Abdulaziz, given the deteriorating power situation across the country since January this year. A letter signed by the Director of Distribution Services at the Federal Ministry of Power, B.U. Mustafa, enjoined the CEOs of the DISCO and the TCN to attend the meeting to be held in the coming week. The power supply situation nationwide has continued to deteriorate since the beginning of the year, and power stakeholders have attributed the situation to the over $1 billion indebtedness to gas producers for the amount of products required to run the thermal gas-fired power plants. The letter informed that the meeting will be deliberate on issues concerning worsening electricity supply in the country to profile lasting solutions. The Minister's Special Advisor, Strategic Communications and Media Relations, Bolaji Tunji, in a statement, said Adelabu warned that the management of the other non-performing DISCOs will also be queried as reports continue to filter in on the situation in their regions. He said, these two DISCOs have been summoned due to the worsening power supply situation in their regions, despite improved supply from TCN. He said the ministry ensures that the power generating companies improve performance, which is why generation has been ramped up to over 4,000 megawatts. Please don't teach me. First, electricity subsidy, to a large extent, the government has come out to say that they will not continue payment of electricity subsidy. And on the other hand, in the same vein, there has been an increase in the tariff of electricity in Nigeria. Now, hand in hand to these two situations, there have been epileptic. Prior to this time, Nigerians have complained of epileptic power supply, but it appears that right now, electricity in Nigeria, power in Nigeria is in a state of rigor mortis, and there seems to be no end in sight. What's your view? Do you think this meeting in the first place will yield any results? And how has it affected the economy of Nigeria, especially with regards to small, medium enterprises?
First, the small, medium enterprises are suffering because of the high tariff of electricity. People are being forced to pay for darkness, virtually not using light. And I pity those who are on estimated billing. If you have your prepaid, that's just the best way that you can function very well. But if you're unestimated, you definitely pay for darkness, and that's what is happening. And most of these DISCOs, when they come for collection and disconnection, they come with police, they intimidate you, make sure that you're paying for what you did not use. And the way things are going, it's not really nice. It's very appalling that this kind of thing will be happening in Nigeria, where people will be made to pay for darkness. And it's not it's a good sight to behold at all.
All right. Over to you, Mr. Choba. What's your take on this situation?
I think it's very, very imperative that the minister is, the minister is calling them in. And I just want to tell you beforehand, because this is our job, we need to do a little observations and studies. What is the minister calling them for? You saw last week, this same ministry or this same discourse listed out ministries that were owing them humongous sums of money, including the villa. And they told us they have given them 14 days. They were all cut off from power. We have not been able to generate enough. The little we generate, the people that think that they are high and mighty, demand for these powers, and this what's it called, electricity is given to them, and they are not even paying for the electricity. It is on public space that only the villa has spent more than ₦1 billion. Only the villa. Then you talk about the Ministry of Power itself. It's owing. So where do these people expect this discourse to be able to start raising funds to generate the power they are so demanding from them? I just hope and believe that people just want to be on the page of newspaper, but let's think beyond that. That for one reason or the other, best known to the minister, he has better ways to addressing these issues and wants to get a result. But better as it may, like Mr. Kochiko observed, 99% of the frivolous, flamboyant life of our stakeholders, political gladiators, is being financed by the suffering masses of the Nigerian populace, who are yet to have the prepaid meter. Some of them are deprived. You say you want to go and get the prepaid meter, they will tell you it's 88,000. Now I think they say it's 150,000 for something that here in Ghana, every house to a mud house had been provided prepaid meters. And when prepaid meter was installed in Nigeria, an estimation was made. The Nigerian government said they brought in all the prepaid meters. So I do not even really know where. If I wish I was a member of that delegation that was going to be sitting with the minister, so let us hear the words the minister is going to say. Maybe it's got a lot of intellectual things or better information we want to give to Nigerians. Then let us talk from the standpoint of our own level of knowledge and how well these things have been are functioning. Like you rightly opined, the Nigerian government have clearly come out to tell you that there's no more going to be subsidy for power, meaning there's going to be subsidy for gas, which is going to generate this power. Now these people are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that they create this atmosphere to raise the funds, to pay both staff, do the running costs, and make these things work. And almost all the government agencies and even the villa are yet to pay their paper bills. But yet every day we see people come to people's houses, poor Nigerians, indigent Nigerians, and their lives have been cut off. Like Mr. Kochiko said, people are paying for darkness because they don't have prepaid. At the end of the day, they tell you, 2 days to the day when people come and cut light, they just let your bulb shine, and at the end of the day, the light is taken off. Whereas the villa is using light almost 24 hours. All the ministries and the directorates are using light almost 24 hours, and you're not paying for it. They were still going to be financing these SSs.
Why not disconnect them?
What's it called? PHED, as the case may be, are giving them an ultimatum. And we are hoping and believing that they will have the balls to go disconnect them, because we do not know who's disconnecting who. Because if the Ministry of Power is owing and you have brought it to the public domain to know, let's see who the disco MD is, and let's see how powerful and how capable it has got the balls to go to Villa. Let me see how whether the security they will allow you to disconnect them. So it's an embarrassing sorry state for the Nigerian state. It clearly shows you how disorganized the system really is and what's still coming from the center. All right.
Former Kaduna Senator Shehu Sani has advised President Bola Tinubu's administration to work hard and fix the economy to avoid the looming protest of angry Nigerians. The ex-federal lawmaker said this kind of protest does not come with a notice like the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. Sani gave this advice via his X account on Friday, following the exchange of words between the NLC and the federal government after the former suspended his 2 days warning strike. The federal government had told the labor union's official to wait till 2027 if they wanted to contest for the office of the president, saying that the protest was uncalled for. In its response, the NLC said Tinubu should address the hunger, unemployment, and inflation killing the economy, adding that nobody was after his office. Reacting to the development, Sani said the most dreadful demonstrations are not from organized labor or from civil society organizations that issue notice before embarking on it, but rather those staged by the unemployed, hungry, and homeless people who have nothing to lose are the most dangerous. Mr. Okechukwu, what's your reaction to what Shehu Sani has said?
He has said nothing but the truth.
Do you think there might be a looming protest?
It's quite obvious. It's something, it's more like a time bomb waiting to explode. You look at it, it's coming gradually, starting with looting, starting with civil protests. I pray it doesn't get to a point where people will take to the streets. And if they do, they will become uncontrollable. And if they become uncontrollable, you cannot kill. If you do that, try to stop them violently, you will be charged for genocide before the International Criminal Court of Justice.
Who charged the killers of NSAS protesters? Who charged them?
It's still in the process. Never can tell. One day.
How many years down the line?
No problem. But NSAS, I believe that the next one that will come wouldn't be like NSAS. It will take a different dimension. NSAS, people were protesting against police brutality. This one now is against hunger.
It's a different
hardship.
ball game.
Is a different ball game. And a hungry man is an angry man. The NSAS, they had a target. It was police high-handedness. But this one, the kind of suffering that is in Nigeria, people will definitely take to the streets if it gets to the highest level of it, where they cannot take it anymore. And I pray it doesn't get to that point. Government should do things now that are people-oriented, policies that will, first of all, it's a man that is well-fed, it's a man that is economically sound that will pass on flyover. It's a man that will that will use the ring road. A hungry man cannot even leave his house to start accessing the ring road in Port Harcourt. It's not a hungry man that moves on ring road. It's somebody that is well-fed. So first, that issue, where prices of goods and services, especially look at staple foods, the ones that we, in the past, they say these are food of the poor people's food. Today, even the poor, even the rich can barely access that poor man's food today. We all know the prices of goods in the market. It increases every day. The kind of inflation we have in Nigeria, I don't know if it's galloping, creeping, or hyperinflation. So if he says this, it should be taken seriously. So that what happened in some South American countries, which I wouldn't want to name, shouldn't happen in Nigeria, where they even had to take over the presidential lodge and people were even sleeping on the beach. You saw that video. They invaded the swimming pool. And the police that were guiding the president, they had to run for their own lives. So if it gets to that place where a crowd of angry people surging towards you as a policeman, you take cover.
All right. Okay. Mr. Chuba, what's your take on this?
You see, I would have loved to just let it slide because Mr. Okechukwu had really elucidated on this issue, stating the obvious, adding his voice to Sani's voice. However, it is pertinent to stress that the Nigerian state, the Nigerian stakeholders believe the people were killed on October 20, 2020, and nothing happened. And so Nigerians have learned their lessons. They cannot protest because if they do, they'll be shot at. But like Mr. Okechukwu equally cited occasions, because in those countries, similar events had occurred. People had felt, nothing would happen. We have done what we should be put, and they cannot shake their bodies. But when it wants to happen, like Shehu Sani said, it will be an insurrection where people will just rise from nowhere. And when that happens, trust me, we are walking into that day because it's not really far-fetched anymore. If we're looking at a bag of rice that year in 2015, we could look at a bag of rice at 7,000-9,000 naira. How many years down the line, we're looking at the same people, the very people who dragged down that administration. I make both to say we had a system of a gathering of wonderful human beings. I've always used the opportunity, anytime I have the opportunity of looking at governance in this light, I equally commend that administration. One, we had a president who was liberal. He brought together an economic team, a team you can reference today, before and after that administration. How many people have been in government that can be referenced for going forward? Look at the lack of battery energy. And that is why you see to it that what has happened in Aba, in the gas turbine that has just been commissioned, everybody is applauding him, everybody's applauding the team over there, because why? He's a renowned person when it comes to electrical engineering. Look at Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. We cannot overemphasize our capacity. Look at Adeshina. We cannot overemphasize his capacity. But look at the kind of team that we are seeing today that has brought, look at where we are. And look at the team we have seen today that we have gathered together to bring us out of it. A little or no hope in sight. I can assure you that the more Nigerians begin to see these realities as their realities for tomorrow, these things that is talking about should not be taken lightly. The government, even if it's to contract this job, let us not even know. Bring think tanks around you from other walks of life, because you want to settle your political cronies, no problem. But it's important that you contract the job, bring think tanks around you to assist you get out of this quagmire. Because trust me, this destination is sure if we continue on this trajectory. Unless something happens miraculously, that there is a turn, a reverse. But on this path we are towing as a government, as an administration, we will get to the option, but I have no option but to say, you remember the scriptural reference? When the 4 lepers say, if we stay here, we will die. If we go there, we will die. Let's go. And at the end of the day, most times they will not die. Most times at the end of the day, that's where a revolution takes place and the country begins to redefine itself. And we don't need to get there, because the options are before us. The government of the day can think differently. Look at the embarrassment of an administration and leadership was seen today. Mr. Okejuku clearly pointed out, how can you sit as a president? You are going for an official trip, not a private trip, and 2 of your kids will be inside the trip. Family members will be counted. Extra costs will be paid to all of these people. And we come to justify it on what grounds? We that are taking extra courses, online courses on the daily, we are paying from our own meager resources. If your children want the money to give them and let them go through other channels to be exposed, not on the job. So it is pitiable that this is the kind of state we find ourselves. And we will still have people in sister channels, or even on this channel will come tomorrow to justify all these shortcomings for one reason or the other. But trust me, how long is this lie is going to fly? One day, the people will stand up for what they believe, and when they do, that's the Sheikh Sani is talking about. We can avoid it, and it should be avoided, because at that time, nobody will be spared, not even you and I. And we don't know the path we're going to be at the time, because sometimes you might come up because you have a very good cab, and before you know it, people consider you one of the elites, because you can see Mr. Okejuku looking very, very robust. You can be considered an elite. Or you, Loresha, looking good. And at that time, you're mobbed up, and you're saying, I'm part of you. It might be too late. So we don't need to get there, because nobody is going to be spared.
All right. Now, the attention and the whole pressure seems to be on the federal government. Let's look at the role of the states and local governments as well in this whole situation. Are they not culpable as well? Now, there is increased FAC allocation to states, almost twice what they used to receive, as well as the local government. At the state level, can the citizens say this is the impact of the increased allocation to the states?
Nothing to show for.
Now, the local government, can they say this is the impact of the increased allocation to the local government? So why is the whole blame going to the federal government? What is the role of the states to ensure that their citizens are well taken care of, especially in view that they have increased allocation? That's on one side. Then the lawmakers that kept allowances for constituency projects, what are they doing with that constituency project? What are they doing? These are questions we should ask ourselves. So while we are focusing so much on the federal government, let us also look at these other tiers of government, tiers and arms of government, and their roles. Are they not culpable as well?
Over culpable. Why I say over culpable? There are certain people, certain class of people, they cannot even access the state government. They cannot even go to the federal level. At that local level, if their needs are also taken care of at that local level, most of this outcry will be reduced. But here we find local government chairmen who have very high retinue of aides. Do you or not? That little or nothing for him. How can a local government chairman appoint 200, 150 aides, special advisors? What are they advising him? Do they even get to see him on a weekly basis? No. So the Local government also, they are very culpable because they have done nothing to ameliorate the sufferings of the people before even talk. If local government takes care of the needs of the local people, we won't be where we are today. I stand to be corrected.
And the state government as well.
First, let us start from the local level because there are certain people whose own challenges are just at that subsistent level. They eat, pay children's school fees, maybe a few medicals, going to pharmacy to buy some few medication. If they are at that level of subsistence and they are comfortable, there won't be so much care. But because they too, they are feeling it, so it gets from top to the bottom. The local government, they have failed. Right. When I mean local government, they have failed, and I stand to be corrected.
Okay. Now, Mr. Choba, over to you.
Very quickly, you see, in that same report, you realize that the president made a statement whilst he was commissioning the Lagos Rail Blue Line also, when he said that it is unacceptable for Labour to be asking for a protest or a strike just in 9 months to an administration, and somebody begins to ask himself, where is the president thinking from? Now he went ahead to say that if people need his job, they should wait till 2027. That is why the local government is failing. That is why the state government is failing, because there is a structure on ground. Everybody is thinking of this next election, and they are beginning to stash money because we've seen to it that whether we like it or yes, I stand to be corrected. What we are seeing in an electionary process is about money play. People that have the money, they feel, listen, I keep talking, when people say the structure, ask them what structures. Can you beat your hands to say you can call 1,000 people without sending transport to them? I can beat my hands to say without mincing words that we can. We can without sending money to them, because why? We've been able to affect their lives directly. Even if by the speeches we make or by the guidance we give to them on public space, they have come to believe our persons. But these people have stashed monies. They have only been able to accrue loyalties of people in the name of money. Like Mr. Okechukwu observed, how can the local government chairman, what is his brother's designation to say he has 208? As what? These 208, what are they? You ask yourself, go and check. They are more like the low lives or supposedly hoodlums in the communities. And in that same place, you empowering them to make sure that when there is an issue, you can put a call across and the place is made uncomfortable for people who want to be civil. The obvious remains that this is the state of things we find in our country. Everybody is planning for the next election. How can we be appointing these kind of people as aides, appointing some people? Listen, it took an Indian company, an Indian media house, to pinpoint to the Nigerian government and the Nigerian people that the president has just appointed his first daughter's husband, who has nothing to do with buildings, as a DG. So what are we talking about? This is the state we have found ourselves. People are empowering people who they believe will not say, it's my brother and my sister, we have a stake. Upon that strength, they will come out all out and do just anything. However, how do you justify these things? We are living in a place where people have come to know that the only politics that our leaders have learned is the wicked politics from Germany, where you're talking about Ungabene too. Our leaders have come to amass so much wealth to themselves and look at the people in the face and look at it that out of every 20, I can be able to bribe 4. And these 4, I know that they were going to scatter the gathering of the 20. And that has been all that is happening. And that's why the statement of Sani is so important for a reasonable person to listen. I beg both to equally say, another critical problem when it comes to are pastors, prophets, clerics, imams, and spiritual native doctors. How do I mean? When you keep pouring oils on the heads of wicked people, when you keep blessing wicked people, when you keep embalming them, making them feel so fortified, suppose speak with reckless abandon as though they have 2 lives. I keep making bold to say, every man will die one day, and posterity will be our judges. For what we have seen in this administration and even in previous administration, and we are seeing in governance, from the presidency down to the local government levels, trust me, it is abysmally bad. None can be applauded. And people must try to start thinking differently. Do not forget, as a local government chairman, many a times, some of you come to the capital to stay. But the little moment you go to your local government, do not forget, if the mob action takes place from there, you will be the president they know. And when that happens, you might not escape it. It is important that we all try to leave a legacy that is worthwhile. Running abroad, like we all pretend, we all want to go abroad, ask yourself, it was the decision of men like you that made that place worthwhile for your children and yourself to passionately desire it. Why can't you make your local government say? And that's what the president and every political stakeholder in this country should be yearning for.
All right. On to the next story. The managing director of Pinnacle Oil and Gas Limited, Robert Dickerman, has revealed that the Nigerian government still pays 1 trillion naira every month for petrol subsidy. This is despite the total deregulation of petroleum products as announced by President Bola Tinubu on the day of his inauguration. Pinnacle Oil has now said that Nigeria is currently spending approximately 1 trillion naira every month on petrol subsidies. Dickerman revealed this information while participating in a panel discussion at Session 6 of Nigeria's Downstream Forum at the recently concluded Nigeria International Energy Summit in Abuja. He mentioned that a significant subsidy is still in place, adding that this has contributed to the product's affordable price and potentially fueling smuggling activities to nearby nations. Do you agree with this statement that the federal government is still paying subsidy?
What?
The naira monthly.
Well, it's only a person who uses the restroom at night that knows the fly that doesn't sleep. Why I say so? It's part of it. He knows that truly they still pay subsidy. It's something that is very good. They still pay subsidy, and they are being technical about it in as much as they want to manage it. You know that given the fact that that statement alone by Mr. President on the day of his inauguration was more like something that is devastating blow. So what they are trying to do now is more of damage control. They are still paying subsidy, whether I like it or not. Subsidy is being paid. If they don't pay subsidy, we'll buy fuel at almost 1,003, 1,004 for a liter of petroleum products, especially petrol. So okay, they are still paying it behind. That's backed up payments.
All right. Mr. Chuba, what's your take on this issue?
The idiom or proverb as used by Mr. Kichuku, it's really one that we should laugh about, but very, very true. It is important to note that Dickerman would not just put his integrity, his company, and personality on the line for a statement that he considers just a frivolous fable. So I want to make bold to say that, like we were told by Capital, when the media house, as big as it is, told us that the landing cost of petroleum product to Nigeria for 1 liter is 1,200 naira. And we are still buying at 720 or at 600, as the case may be. It's a clear indication that what Mr. Dickerman is saying is something to think about, something to ponder over. However, it is important and imperative to ask us as a people. This is the reason why sometimes when I speak with this so much vigor and pain. I keep asking even the MD of the Traditional Security Services, this job would have been lessened grossly if we had a governor, yes, Wike, the former governor of Rivers State, whom I had a press conference and I will send messages to inform, sir, just as they did a white paper to the president then for the illegal miners to be considered artisan miners, I think it is high time a paper be done to the presidency that the southern people of Nigeria, most especially Rivers State as a case study, had decided to bring a white paper because if with the humongous technical structures put in the refineries, yet we cannot refine a drop of crude for years. And people out of sheer ingenuity can refine this product in the same vein that can be consumable in Nigeria. Then I think it is high time we bring in professionals, safety officers, who will guide these people to let them understand the damage that they're causing to aquatic life and to the airspace, and see to it that we have to refine this thing privately and locally to see that we have this product within Nigeria and the shores of our country. But the governor went there to want to be politically correct, wants to be more connected to whoever he wants to, so pleases, and at the end of the day, we made those people look criminalize them, and today this is where we are. Ask yourself, 1 trillion naira on a monthly basis, how much is a refinery in the first place? Let us be factual. How much is Dangote declared to be building the second largest refinery in the world? How much has Dangote declared to build it? How much has the Nigerian state as a country put into establishing of these 4 refineries in the country. We are not sincere people. Whether we like it or yes, the bourgeois in this country are playing us for a ride, and that is why we go back to the statement of Shehu Sani. The more the Nigerian people get educated and get informed about what is happening, knowing fully well that a refinery is not a rocket science, it's not something that spiritually falls from the sky. We have professors of engineering, we have professors of petroleum engineering, we have professors of electricity, all scattered in Nigeria, collecting Omogo salaries. We have people who come out to say this and say that, yet a drop of crude has not been able to be refined in this country for years. Now we have now turned to foreign nations to import this product. When Dangote refinery was coming forth, we were giving so much stories. Nigerian government went to buy shares with a money that is even enough to fix a refinery. We went to use that money to buy 20% shares from that same company. These things are on national television. These things are on internet. Everybody can access them. These are the kind of people that are seated in the offices and call themselves our leaders. It is important and imperative for them to understand that the people will not be dummies for so long. We will keep educating them, and until the government chooses to do it, get it right. What the man is saying, it's a pain to our heart, because it's obvious that some people are being paid this money and they are sharing this money. Ask yourself, when a trillion naira is being used to subsidize product into this country, and like he said, at the end of the day, that this all leads to the siphoning of this product to neighboring African countries, and people just keep doing their business and keep turning it over. It is imperative and important that government rises up and stop this charade of talking about making the people look as if we don't have our own brains to think. It is important that government stands up to the occasion and does the needful. Because to even fix the refinery is not rocket science. If they cannot fix the refinery, to build a new refinery from scratch, how many months did it take Dangote to build the refinery to where it is today? And how much is it? And every day, we are able to steal these monies personally on a daily basis. So it is important that we do something about it.
All right, Mr. Ogechukwu, quickly.
Yeah, talking about fixing of the refineries, for crying out loud, if they cannot fix these refineries, the same thing that happened in Nigeria. Initially, that country, owning a telephone line used to be for the bourgeois, used to be for the so-called rich. And on a particular street, you would find maybe either 1 or 2 houses that have night line. The rest people, they go there to make and receive calls. But today, phone is on the hand of everybody. So what I'm saying is that if government cannot manage these refineries, they should be sold at 0 kobo or 0 naira to willing investors to come and inherit both assets and liability and get this thing running. Once it gets running, the price of petroleum product must definitely come down.
Right. Okay. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime says corruption is prevalent in the Nigerian judiciary. A representative of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, Melissa Omene, said this on Friday at a judicial accountability event in Abuja. The event was organized by TAP Initiative, a not-for-profit organization. Speaking on a 2019 survey that was conducted by UNODC and the National Bureau of Statistics, Ms. Omene said the survey found that 20% of those who had contact with the Nigerian judiciary were confronted with a request for payment of a bribe. Indeed, corruption in the Nigerian judiciary is extensive, and both male and female judges are party to it. Giving a comparative analysis of the issue, a UNODC study on gender and corruption in 2020 disclosed that male judges are far more likely to be involved in bribe seeking than their female colleagues. The study said corruption among judicial officers had eroded public confidence in the judiciary. Mr. Chuba. Yes. Okay,
you see, I think if you listen to Omene and you listen to the response that's given to her by the son, Akutekpa, I respect him so much because there's one son that refused or requested himself from being a part of the council for the presidency when it was time for the tribunal. I keep telling people, we will all be remembered for what we have done, whether we like it or yes. And I make this statement very boldly. Even if it doesn't happen in your generation, ask yourself, when you are long gone, are your children going to be that strong if we get into a barbaric society where we now say the people that brought us to this place want to bring them to their knees? Will your children and the names that they bear, will they not be changed? And if they will not, ask yourself the very, very all-important question. Now, it is important that Omene clearly observed it and said it outrightly. Ask yourself, if there are no corruption charges and bribes, how did we get here? How did we get here? We have run an election. Look at the election that we ran. At some point, people said, no, protest, let us protest. The result, INEC told us as a people, go to court. Go to court. For something that was glaring to the eyes of even the blind, we went to court. What was the result of the court? Now somebody will say, today as I speak, I've already said it. I start to be corrected. Let the best of sons and professors come and tell me the state of Abuja, in respect to our constitution and the judgment we just received. Abuja is not like Obiakpo, because when you finish counting your vote, you can't Abuja vote, everybody goes home. Whether you like it or yes, we do not know what is forgery anymore in this country. A lot of things have gone bonkers, because whether we like it or yes, there is a similitude of somewhat belief that that bribes or hands have shaken hands. So it is not it's not something that we have to overflog. Our judicial system has been dragged to the murky waters to an embarrassing level that it is so painful to the heart that we do not even know where to start from. The crimes and the way people get away with these crimes, most especially political office holders, over this period of time. Ask yourself, up until date, we are still here talking about somebody that committed treasonable felony against the Nigerian state. This, that. If somebody can be brought back from as far as another country, as far as Kenya, but people that commit crime in Nigeria, we will look for years and years, and we cannot find them. The judicial system, with the security system, we are looking at. We are in this country where somebody just tweeted and talked about the former first lady, and in hours, he was whisked away. For fact, nobody knew where he was. He had to take the collective effort of Nigerians to start begging for the person to be brought out. But yet, that person was taken from a remote community. But yet, we are in a country where bourgeois do things. Till today, the 53 commanders of Boko Haram that escaped from the Kuje prison, not one have been caught back. So that would like it or yes, this is the reality of our country. The corruption level is high, and the judiciary cannot be excused. So it is pertinent that people who consider themselves learned colleagues, who cover the toga of God, should look inward, check their consciences, and ask themselves, what is the state they want to bequeath to the next generation?
All right. Mr. Okechukwu, in view of some judgments that have been, given out by the judiciary, especially at the apex courts, do you think there is hope that the courts right now is the last hope of the common man in the country?
It is no longer the last hope of the common man. The judiciary, as I say, it's no longer the last hope of the common man. In the past, or of recent, we've seen courts of coordinate jurisdiction on one matter, giving out conflicting court orders. I can have a case with Chuba. I rushed to a federal high court in Abuja. He also remains in Port Harcourt. Gets a federal high court injunction. I get a federal high court injunction. Our court these days has been turned to a Jankara market or supermarket where we have pay-as-you-go judges dishing out court orders as a kind of Father Christmas. Because you can see a case is before a judge in Port Harcourt, a state high court, and I run to Abuja still on that matter. This Port Harcourt court will give judgment or ruling, or a court order in the morning. Towards evening, you hear a conflicting order again from another. So which one do we even obey? And at the moment, they're even putting the police or the law enforcement at risk because they no longer know the court order to obey. So they have compromised a lot. Talking about the Supreme Court, the apex court also, they've compromised at some level. They have compromised. And if they have compromised, then it behoves on Nigerians, or in fact, what we need at this point is some form of judicial reform where people who are at that top level, the judges, they should go back and search themselves, ask themselves certain questions so that they can become the last hope of the common man and not the man with the largest or deepest pocket, so to say.
All right. Now, Mr. Okechukwu talked about judicial reform. Do you think it's possible at this point in time, the will to actually embark on that reform is there?
I would say that it is important that the judicial reform is carried out, but we have to look at what brought us to where we are now. Prior to in 2015, we saw the rascally removal of a CGN And one would have expected that that would have heralded some sort of consciousness in the judicial system. We saw the rascally busting of judicial office holders in their houses. And one would have expected that should have quickened an awakening or a consciousness of the judicial system. But none of that happened. Now, whether we like it or yes, the judiciary not being independent financially is a very, very, very big tool for the corruption being entrenched in it. Akutekpa clearly observed one matter. He said, how do judges emerge? The process of making somebody a judge is very key as to the judge himself. If the person is nominated by a politician and is ensured to become a judge and rises to the echelons of the Supreme Court, the bidding of that politician, unless that politician is a saint and tells the person, I'm taking my hands off it, just do the right thing. Only then and then, that's to say we are going back to the monarchy system. But if we have a system where the judges are emerged by fair processes and they have financial autonomy, I can assure you that to a large extent, this corruption in the judiciary will stop. Ask yourself, we saw the judgment of the Supreme Court or concerning the electoral matters that took place now, that were just concluded. It was, many of them were shambolic and embarrassing to the normal Nigerian. An average Nigerian, how do you want to explain to us that my name is Comrade Chuba Okuzo, then tomorrow I'm bearing Okechukwu Okuzo, then I'm justifying it, and it's not forgery anymore, or the forgery is not important in the case that leads to my credibility of managing an office. So we just come with, like Okechukwu said, he said, how can we come to court, to the Supreme Court, level of Supreme Court, talking about technicalities as against the Constitution and the will of the people? So we must, listen, there's always two sides to a coin. I've always said this, and I will make use as a closing remark. It is important to note that if you kill your father and your mother, there's an advantage, because anybody that knows you will fear you. Yes, an advantage to it, because if you want to argue for money, you want to share money, 30% you are capable of killing. But you ask yourself, are the merits and the demerits, are they same? So that would like it or yes, the judgment came with reasons. Ask yourself, are those reasons justifiable to the conscience? Are those reasons the generality of the Nigerian populace? And if they are not, let the consciences be our judge. But very necessary and importantly, nobody can come and accuse the judiciary of corruption charges.
What's the way forward?
I think the way forward is simple. If there's any time for a protest, a more civil protest, it should be from the judiciary. Lawyers should be on the street asking for financial autonomy, one. Two, looking at the body of benchers and asking for a process for judges to emerge, to be different, completely devoid of political influence. And until that is done, I can tell you keep running around circles.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Okechukwu, for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure, anytime.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chuba, for always coming when you're called upon.
My pleasure.
All right. And this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Sunday. You can always stay connected to us on all our socials, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website, www.atlantic.tv. Do not forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Open air comes up shortly by 10 a.m. Do not go away. Thank you for watching. I am Mugulore.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring honest pop news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.